8 Japanese Zeros circle like sharks above the cloud deck. Below them, a lone P-38 Lightning claws for altitude. One engine trailing smoke, fuel misting from punctured tanks. The pilot knows the math. At his current climb rate, they will intercept in 43 seconds. At their closing speed, he will be dead in 45. Then, Lieutenant Richard Bong does something that breaks every rule written in blood and training manuals. He rolls inverted, pushes the stick forward, and drops 1,000 feet straight down into the killing zone. His wingmen think he has lost his mind. The Zeros think it is surrender. They are both wrong. The sky over Rabaul is not blue. It is gray with anti-aircraft smoke and streaked with tracer fire. The air smells of cordite and burning aviation fuel. Radio chatter crackles with panic and static. American bombers are inbound to hit Japanese shipping lanes, and the entire Imperial Navy Air Wing has risen to meet them. 70 fighters swarm the approaches. The escort group, already outnumbered 3-1, splinters under the first attack. Formation integrity collapses. Pilots scatter. Some run for the deck. Others climb for altitude and space. Bong does neither. He throttles back, lets the Zeros commit, and watches their attack angles. With the cold detachment of an engineer studying a bridge under load. This is October 29, 1943. The Pacific War has been grinding forward for 2 years. American pilots are better trained now, better equipped, but still dying at rates that keep intelligence officers awake in their tents. The Japanese Zero remains the most maneuverable fighter in the theater. It turns tighter, climbs faster at low altitude, and is flown by veterans who learned their trade over China and Pearl Harbor. Doctrine is clear. Do not dogfight a Zero. Use speed and altitude. Make one pass and disengage. Bong has read the manuals. He has memorized the tables. He knows what he is about to do violates every principle of survival. He does it anyway. The Zeros tighten their circle. They are setting up a coordinated attack, a classic pincer from above and below. Bong will have nowhere to go. The lead Zero pilot is experienced. He does not rush. He positions his wingman, calculates deflection, and prepares to fire. Then the P-38 flips upside down. For a half second, the Japanese pilots hesitate. Aircraft do not fly inverted in combat. The control surfaces fight you. The engine starves. The wings generate negative lift. It is aerodynamically stupid and tactically suicidal. Then Bong pushes the stick forward and the Lightning drops like a stone, inverted, 1,000 feet per second, building speed that should rip the wings off. The Zeros follow. They should not. Their airframes are lighter, more fragile, optimized for maneuverability, not structural strength. At 400 miles per hour in a negative G-dive, physics stops caring about doctrine. Metal screams, rivets pop. One Zero's wing folds upward and the aircraft tumbles, shedding pieces. The others pull out, hard, desperate. Bong is already gone, falling through their formation like a knife through silk. The problem facing American fighter pilots in 1943 is not courage. It is physics. The Mitsubishi A6M Zero weighs 4,000 pounds empty. The Lockheed P-38 Lightning weighs 12,800. In a turning fight, mass is the enemy. The Zero can reverse direction in seconds. The P-38 needs altitude and speed to survive. Pilots who forget this equation do not come home. The losses are documented in cold numbers. In the first 6 months of Pacific operations, American fighter squadrons report 38% attrition rates. Entire flights vanish over the Coral Sea or the Solomon Islands. Replacement pilots arrive weekly, fresh from stateside training programs, undertrained and overeager. Some last 3 missions, some last 1. The math is simple and brutal. The Zero wins the close fight every time. Intelligence officers study gun camera footage and debrief survivors. They map attack patterns and measure engagement distances. The data is consistent. Japanese pilots exploit vertical tactics. They climb above Allied formations, roll inverted, and dive through with deflection shots that shred cockpits and fuel tanks. American pilots try to counter with speed, but the P-38's twin-engine design makes it heavy in the climb. By the time they reach fighting altitude, the Zeros are already above them, waiting. Doctrine evolves slowly. Manuals are rewritten. Training programs emphasize boom and zoom tactics. Dive, fire, climb away, never turn, never slow down, never engage on the enemy's terms. It works when pilots have altitude and discipline. It fails when they are bounced from above or caught escorting slow bombers. The Pacific theater is vast and unforgiving. Missions launch from airstrips carved out of jungle mud. Pilots fly 4-hour patrols over open ocean with no navigation aids beyond dead reckoning and compass headings. If an engine fails, you ditch. If you ditch, you disappear. Search and rescue is a fantasy. The ocean swallows wreckage without ceremony. Between missions, pilots sit in the shade of wing roots and talk in quiet voices. They compare notes. They argue about deflection angles and energy management. Some believe better aircraft will solve the problem. Others want longer-range fuel tanks or heavier guns. A few think the war in the air is simply unwinnable with current equipment. All of them are exhausted. All of them have watched friends burn. Ground crews work through the tropical nights, patching bullet holes and replacing shattered canopies. They scrub blood from seats and do not speak of what they clean. Mechanics develop rituals. Some refuse to service aircraft that have lost 2 pilots. Others etch small marks on engine cowlings, prayers in greased pencil. Everyone knows the statistics. Everyone pretends they do not. In the operations tents, commanders review mission reports and draft cables requesting reinforcements. The replies are sympathetic but vague. Resources flow to Europe. The Pacific is a secondary front. Pilots make do with what they have. And then a farm boy from Wisconsin with a habit of sketching stress diagrams starts asking questions no one else thinks to ask. Questions about structural limits and safety margins. Questions about what an aircraft can survive if the pilot stops flying it the way the manual says and starts flying it the way the physics allows. Richard Bong is born in Poplar, Wisconsin in 1920, the third of 9 children, Swedish immigrant stock. His father farms and works odd jobs. His mother teaches piano and keeps the household running on discipline and faith. The house smells of wood smoke and boiled potatoes. Dinner conversation is quiet, practical, focused on the weather and crop yields. Bong learns early that resources are finite and waste is sin. He attends Superior Central High School, not popular, not bullied, simply invisible. He joins the math club. He builds model airplanes with the obsessive attention to weight distribution and structural integrity. Teachers describe him as meticulous. Classmates describe him as odd. He graduates in 1938 with decent grades and no clear direction. The world is tilting toward war, but Bong is too quiet for leadership and too poor for college. He works construction for a year, saving money, then enrolls at Superior State Teachers College to study engineering. He does not dream of flying. He dreams of bridges and buildings, structures that stand against wind and time. But in 1941, the Army Air Corps comes recruiting. They need pilots. They offer flight training, a salary, and a way out of Wisconsin winters. Bong volunteers. He passes the physical. He reports to basic training with a duffel bag and a notebook full of calculus. Instructors notice him immediately, not for his skill, but for his questions. Why does the aircraft stall at this angle? What is the load factor on the wing spar during a split S? How much stress can the fuselage absorb before a structural failure? Other cadets learn by feel and instinct. Bong learns by measurement and calculation. Flight training is abbreviated. The Corps needs pilots in the air, not in classrooms. Bong struggles at first. He overthinks. He hesitates. During dogfight practice, he flies like a man solving an equation in real time, cautious and analytical. Instructors mark him as competent but lacking aggression. One evaluation notes his tendency to analyze rather than react. Another flags him for excessive caution under simulated combat stress. He graduates in January 1942. Not at the top of his class, not at the bottom. He is assigned to the 59th Fighter Squadron, then shuffled to the 9th Fighter Squadron, 5th Air Force, and shipped to the South Pacific. He arrives in theater in September 1942. New Guinea is mud and malaria and missions that launch at dawn in disguise, controlled by an enemy who has been fighting since 1937. Bong does not fit the mold. Fighter pilots are supposed to be cocky, instinctive, aggressive. He is none of these. He calculates. He hesitates. He second guesses. Between missions, while others play cards or write letters home, he sits alone and sketches. Not landscapes or pin-up girls, but diagrams, wing-loading charts, stress distribution models, energy state comparisons between the P-38 and the Zero. His tent mates call him Physics Boy. Some mean it as mockery, some mean it as affection. Bong does not seem to notice either way. He is too busy trying to solve a problem that is killing pilots faster than they can be replaced. The revelation comes to Bong during a maintenance inspection in November 1942. He watches ground crews replace a cracked wing spar on a P-38 that survived a hard landing. The crew chief explains the damage. Excessive G-load during a split S maneuver. The pilot pulled too hard. The metal bent but did not break. The aircraft landed safely. Bong asks to see the engineering specifications. The crew chief laughs. Pilots do not read engineering specs, Bong insists. He spends 3 hours in the operations tent reading technical manuals. He learns that the P-38 is rated for 8 Gs positive, 3.5 Gs negative, but the actual structural failure point is higher, much higher. Lockheed builds in safety margins. The airframe can theoretically handle 11 or 12 Gs before catastrophic failure. No pilot has ever tested it. No pilot has ever needed to. Bong starts running calculations. He fills notebooks with equations. He sketches force diagrams. He considers the problem from first principles. The Zero outturns the P-38 in level flight because it is lighter and has lower wing loading. But in a dive, mass becomes an advantage. The heavier aircraft accelerates faster. The P-38's twin-boom design distributes stress across 2 fuselage structures instead of 1. In theory, it can handle negative G maneuvers that would tear a single fuselage fighter apart. In theory, a pilot could roll inverted, push forward on the stick, and dive at speeds no Zero could match without structural failure. In theory, this would break the enemy's attack geometry and create a reversal opportunity. In theory. Bong knows theory and practice are separated by a gap measured in blood. He approaches his squadron commander, Captain Thomas Lynch. He explains the concept. Lynch listens without interruption. When Bong finishes, Lynch's response is immediate and final. Absolutely not. The maneuver is untested, unauthorized, and suicidal. Negative G flight causes fuel starvation. The engines could quit, the control surfaces could lock, the wings could fold. Even if the airframe survives, the pilot would black out from blood rushing to his head. Bong argues. He shows his calculations. He explains the safety margins. Lynch cuts him off. Doctrine exists for a reason. Pilots who deviate die. The discussion ends there. Bong is forbidden from testing the maneuver. He is ordered to stop talking about it. He is told to focus on proven tactics and stop wasting time on theoretical aerodynamics. But Bong cannot stop thinking. He lies awake in his tent, listening to the rain hammer the canvas, running equations in his head. He knows negative G flight is dangerous. He knows the risks. But he also knows that current tactics are failing. Pilots are dying because the P-38 cannot dogfight a Zero. Doctrine says to disengage. But disengagement requires altitude and speed. When you are bounced from above, you have neither. When you are surrounded, there is nowhere to run. The math is clear. Either find a new solution or accept the attrition rate. Bong is not interested in acceptance. He is interested in survival, and survival requires doing something no one else is willing to try. The nickname spreads through the squadron like a virus, Physics Boy. Some pilots use it with grudging respect. Most use it with contempt. Fighter pilots are supposed to trust their instincts, react without thinking, fly with aggression and confidence. Bong does none of these. He questions everything. During pre-mission briefings, he raises his hand and asks technical questions that derail conversations. What is the enemy's typical rate of climb? At what altitude do our engines lose power? How much does a full ammunition load affect our roll rate? The veterans groan. The commander shoots him, looks that could strip paint. One morning, Bong suggests the squadron practice inverted flight during training missions. The reaction is immediate and hostile. Lieutenant Jack Morrison, a veteran with 11 kills, stands up and walks out. Others laugh. One pilot mimics Bong's flat Wisconsin accent. Another asks if Physics Boy plans to defeat the Japanese with a slide rule. The contempt is not entirely personal, it is structural. The squadron operates on hierarchy and tradition. The veterans have survived through skill and luck. They have developed instincts honed by combat. When they say a maneuver is suicide, they are not guessing. They are reporting data purchased with the lives of friends. Bong is a recent arrival with fewer than 20 missions. He has one confirmed kill. He has never been shot down. He has never watched a wingman burn. His theories are untested. His calculations are academic. In the brutal economy of aerial combat, his opinion carries no weight. The veterans do not hate him. They dismiss him. There is a difference. Between missions, Bong sits alone in the mess tent and sketches. Other pilots play poker or write letters home. Bong draws diagrams of aircraft in various attitudes of flight. He calculates energy states. He models attack geometries. His tent mate, Lieutenant Francis Lent, asks him once why he bothers. No one listens. No one cares. Bong's answer is simple. Someone should. Lent does not ask again. The mockery intensifies when Bong begins requesting permission to test maneuvers during routine patrols. He wants to roll inverted at altitude and measure the engine response. He wants to test negative G tolerance in controlled conditions. Every request is denied. The squadron commander stops reading his proposals. The operations officer tells him to focus on combat readiness and stop playing engineer. One afternoon, after a particularly brutal mission where the squadron loses 3 aircraft, Bong tries again. He corners Captain Lynch in the operations tent and shows him revised calculations. He has accounted for fuel starvation. He has modeled blood flow dynamics. He has identified the precise airspeed and altitude where an inverted dive becomes survivable. Lynch does not look at the papers. He looks at Bong. His voice is quiet and tired. Men are dying, Lieutenant. Real men, not equations. We do not have time for experiments. We barely have time to bury the dead. The next pilot who tries one of your maneuvers will not come back. And I will write a letter to his mother explaining that he died because some farm boy convinced him physics was more reliable than doctrine. Do you want that responsibility? Bong does not answer. Lynch walks out. The conversation is over. But the question lingers. October 29, 1943. The briefing tent smells of sweat and mildew. Maps spread across wooden tables show the target. Rabaul, the most heavily defended Japanese stronghold in the South Pacific. 5 airfields, over 300 aircraft, anti-aircraft batteries thick enough to turn the sky black. The mission is simple on paper. Escort B-25 bombers to the harbor, Suppress enemy fighters, get everyone home. The reality is more complicated. Rabaul is a meat grinder. Previous raids have cost the 5th Air Force over 40 aircraft in 2 weeks. Intelligence estimates 70 Japanese fighters will rise to meet the strike package. The math is brutal. 12 American fighters versus 70 Zeros, Oscars, and Tonys. The veterans know what this means. Some will not return. The question is who? Bong checks his aircraft before dawn. The P-38 Lightning sits on the coral hardstand, dew beating on the aluminum skin. Ground crews have patched bullet holes from the previous mission. Engines are topped off with oil. Ammunition belts feed into the nose cannons. 4 50 caliber machine guns, 1 20mm cannon, 1,400 rounds total. Bong walks the pre-flight inspection with his crew chief, a sergeant from Alabama who has kept this particular aircraft flying through 6 months of combat. The sergeant mentions a slight vibration in the left engine. Nothing serious, but noticeable above 8,000 feet. Bong makes a note. Everything matters. Everything can kill you. The flight launches at 0630 hours. 12 P-38s climb through broken clouds, forming up over the coast before turning north. The bombers are already inbound, slower, lower, vulnerable. The fighters position themselves above and behind, scanning for threats. Radio discipline is tight. No chatter, just altitude calls and position updates. The weather deteriorates as they cross into Japanese-controlled airspace. Cloud cover thickens, visibility drops. The formation loosens. Pilots struggle to maintain visual contact. Then the first warning crackles over the radio. Bandits high, 11 o'clock. Bong looks up. Contrails streak the sky above them. Lots of contrails. The Japanese are not ambushing. They are swarming. The engagement begins at 18,000 feet. Zeros dive out of the sun, firing before the Americans can react. Tracers stitch the air. 1 P-38 takes hits in the wing and peels away, trailing smoke. The formation scatters. Doctrine says to stay together, but doctrine assumes you have time to coordinate. There is no time. The sky fills with aircraft, a chaotic three-dimensional brawl where altitude and position shift every second. Bong breaks left, hard, trying to climb back to altitude. A Zero latches onto his tail. Bong dives, pulls up, reverses. The Zero stays with him. Another joins from the right, then 2 more. They are boxing him in, classic tactics, setting up a crossfire. Bong checks his altitude, 14,000 feet, and dropping. His fuel gauge shows 3/4 full, but the left engine is vibrating harder now. He counts the zeros, 8. They are not rushing. They are methodical, patient, coordinating. He has 15 seconds before they close the trap, maybe less. His hand rests on the stick. His eyes sweep the instruments. Airspeed, altitude, engine temperature, all green. He thinks about Captain Lynch. He thinks about the letters to mothers. He thinks about the math. Then he makes a decision. Bong rolls the P-38 inverted. The horizon flips, sky below, ocean above. His body strains against the harness. Blood rushes toward his head. The engine coughs once, twice, then catches as fuel sloshes in the tanks. The Zeros hesitate. Aircraft do not fly upside down in combat. The control surfaces fight the pilot. The engines starve for fuel. Experienced pilots know this. They have seen inverted aircraft before, always in death spirals, always trailing smoke. But Bong is not spiraling. He is stable, level, inverted. The lead Zero pilot radios a warning to his wingman. American pilot disoriented, close for kill. They tighten formation. They do not understand what is about to happen. Bong pushes the stick forward. In normal flight, this would make the nose drop. Inverted, it does the opposite. The nose pulls through, down, diving toward the ocean below. The altimeter unwinds. 14,000 feet. 13,500, 13,000. The dive angle steepens, 40 degrees, 50, 60. The airspeed indicator climbs, 250 miles per hour, 280, 300. The airframe begins to shake, rivets rattle, the twin booms vibrate like tuning forks. Wind screams past the canopy. Bong keeps the stick forward, riding the edge of control. His vision narrows. Blood pressure builds in his head. His eyes feel like they are bulging from the sockets. He counts seconds. 1, 2, 3. The zeros follow. They should not. Their orders are to shoot the crippled bomber, not chase it into a suicidal dive. But instinct overrides discipline. They see prey fleeing downward. They follow. The lead zero rolls inverted, matches Bong's angle, and dives. 3 more follow. They accelerate. 300 miles per hour, 350, 400. At 420 miles per hour, inverted, pulling -3 Gs, the laws of structural engineering become non-negotiable. The Zero weighs 4,100 pounds and is built for maneuverability. Its airframe uses lightweight construction, thin aluminum skin over minimal internal bracing. It can turn inside anything in the sky, but it cannot handle sustained high-speed -G loads. The wing spars flex, the rivets strain. At 430 miles per hour, the lead Zero's right wing begins to buckle. The pilot sees it happen. The wingtip folds upward slowly at first, then catastrophically. The spar snaps. The wing separates. The Zero tumbles, shedding pieces, trailing fuel. It spins, inverted through 12,000 feet, 11,000, 10,000. No parachute. The pilot is unconscious or dead. The aircraft disintegrates before it hits the water. The remaining Zeros pull out, hard, desperate. Their pilots yank back on their sticks, rolling upright, bleeding speed to avoid the same fate. 2 succeed. 1 does not. His aircraft shudders, the tail section cracks, and he enters a flat spin. Bong is still diving, 13,000 feet, 12,000, 11,000. His airspeed peaks at 460 miles per hour. The P-38 screams like metal tearing apart, but the twin boom design holds. The stress distributes across 2 fuselage structures instead of 1. The wings flex, but do not fold. Lockheed's safety margins are being tested beyond anything the engineers imagined. At 10,000 feet, Bong begins the recovery. He rolls upright. He pulls back on the stick. The nose comes up. G forces slam him into the seat. His vision grays. 6 Gs. 7, 8. The airframe groans. Somewhere in the left, boom, something cracks, but the wings hold. At 9,000 feet, Bong levels out. His airspeed is 410 miles per hour. The remaining Zeros are above him at 11,000 feet, scattered and disorganized. They are slower now, having bled energy in their panic recovery. Bong is faster. He has converted altitude into speed. He has reversed the geometry. The Zeros had the advantage. Now he does. He pulls back on the stick and climbs. The P-38 responds like a slingshot released. The twin Allison engines roar at full power, 400 miles per hour, 380, 350. He trades speed for altitude, climbing at 3,000 feet per minute. The Zeros see him coming. They try to reposition. 2 brake left, 2 brake right. They are reacting, not coordinating. Bong picks the nearest target, a Zero at 10,500 feet, climbing and turning right. He leads the turn. He closes to 400 yards, 300, 200. The gun sight reticle settles on the Zero's fuselage. Bong squeezes the trigger. The 450 caliber machine guns hammer. The 20mm cannon thumps. Tracers arc across the sky. The first burst misses low. Bong adjusts. The second burst walks up the Zero's tail section. Fabric tears, metal sparks. The Zero's rudder shreds. The pilot tries to evade, rolling left, but the damaged rudder makes the aircraft uncontrollable. It snaps into a spin. Bong does not watch it fall. He is already tracking the next target. A Zero at 11,000 feet, diving to gain speed. Bong pulls lead. He fires. This burst is perfect. Rounds punch through the engine cowling, oil sprays, smoke pours. The Zero's propeller windmills to a stop. The pilot banks hard, trying to glide toward the coast. He will not make it. The distance is too far. The altitude is too low. He is already dead. He just does not know it yet. 2 Zeros remain combat effective. They regroup, climbing hard, trying to regain altitude advantage. Bong climbs with them. The P-38 has better high-altitude performance. Above 15,000 feet, the turbo superchargers give him power the Zeros cannot match. He pulls ahead. He gains altitude. At 16,000 feet, he reverses again, diving on the Zeros from above. Now he is using textbook tactics, boom and zoom. The maneuver every American pilot is taught. He dives, builds speed, fires a long burst at the trailing Zero, hits. The Zero's canopy shatters. The aircraft wobbles, noses over, and dives uncontrolled. The last Zero brakes hard left and runs. The pilot has seen enough. 4 of his flight are gone. 1 is crippled. The American fighter that should have been an easy kill has just reversed an 8-on-1 engagement and turned it into a massacre. The Zero pilot does not try to re-engage. He dives for the deck and heads north, running for Rabaul. Bong does not pursue. His fuel is critical. His left engine is vibrating badly. He has combat damage he cannot assess. He turns south and climbs. Radio chatter crackles. Other P-38s call out positions. The bombers are egressing. The mission is complete. Bong checks his instruments. Fuel shows 1/4 tank. Oil pressure on the left engine is fluctuating. Altitude 16,000 feet. Airspeed 260. He can make it home, probably. He throttles back to cruise power and begins the long flight back to base. His hands are shaking. His head pounds. His vision swims with afterimages, but he is alive. And 8 Zeros are not. The flight back to base takes 90 minutes. Bong flies, alone, separated from the formation, conserving fuel. The left engine vibrates worse with every mile. Oil temperature climbs into the yellow. He reduces power, feathers the propeller slightly, and monitors the gauges with obsessive attention. If the engine seizes, he can fly on 1. The P-38 is designed for asymmetric flight, but single-engine performance is marginal. He would lose altitude slowly, steadily, until he either reached base or the ocean. The ocean is closer. He does the math in his head. Current altitude 12,000 feet. Glide ratio with 1 engine approximately 8-to-1. Distance to base 60 miles. He has margin, barely. He keeps the engine running. The vibration smooths slightly at lower RPM. He adjusts mixture, prop pitch, throttle. Small changes, constant monitoring. Flying becomes a negotiation with physics. The coast appears through broken clouds, green jungle, white beaches, blue water. Home. Bong radios the tower, his call sign, his status, his fuel state. The tower responds immediately. They have been tracking him on radar, watching a single blip crawl south while the rest of the formation landed 30 minutes ago. They clear him straight in. No pattern, no delays. The runway is his. He descends through 5,000 feet, 4,000, 3,000. The engine vibration worsens. Something is loose in the cowling. He can hear it rattling over the roar of the Allisons. At 2,000 feet, he lowers the landing gear. Hydraulic pressure is weak. The gear extends, but the indicator light does not confirm lock. He cycles the gear. Still no light. He does not have time to troubleshoot. He commits. Gear down, flaps down, power back. The P-38 slows. 160 miles per hour. 150. 140. The runway appears ahead, a strip of crushed coral carved through jungle. Ground crews line the edges, watching. Word has spread. Physics boy is coming back alone. The other pilots are already in debrief. They reported the engagement. 8 Zeros, 1 P-38. No one expected Bong to survive. Some assumed he was dead. Others figured he diverted to an alternate field. But here he is, on final approach, one engine smoking, the aircraft visibly bent. Bong crosses the threshold at 120 miles per hour. He cuts power. The P-38 settles. The main gear touches. The nose gear follows. The left main gear strut collapses. Not completely, but enough. The aircraft tilts left. The wingtip scrapes coral. Sparks trail. Bong fights the rudder pedals, trying to keep the nose straight. The P-38 skids, slews left, and grinds to a stop 50 yards short of the taxiway. Silence. Then the engines cough and die. The canopy opens. Bong climbs out slowly. His legs shake. His flight suit is soaked with sweat. Ground crews sprint toward the aircraft. The crew chief arrives first, stares at the damage, and stops walking. The left boom is cracked longitudinally. Stress fractures spiderweb across the wing root. The tail section is bent. Rivets have popped along the fuselage spine. One propeller blade is cracked. The landing gear strut is sheared. The aircraft is not repairable. It is scrap. The crew chief looks at Bong. "How the hell are you alive?" Bong does not answer. He sits down on the wing root and puts his head in his hands. His crew chief calls for a medic. Bong waves him off. He is not injured. He is just tired. So tired. The debrief happens in a medical tent. Bong lies on a cot, bandaged and pale. Flight surgeon checks his vitals. Minor contusions. Burst blood vessels in both eyes from negative G strain. Bruising across his chest from harness loads. He is grounded for 72 hours. Captain Lynch arrives with 2 intelligence officers. They want details. Bong explains methodically the inverted roll, the negative G dive, the structural stress on the zeros, the energy reversal, the climbing attack. Lynch listens without interruption. When Bong finishes, the tent is silent. Then Lynch asks the question everyone is thinking. "Did you plan this?" Bong nods. He has been calculating it for months. Lynch stares at him. He does not say whether Bong will be court-martialed or commended. The line between brilliance and insubordination is microscopic. 3 days later, the answer comes. Bong is awarded the Distinguished Service Cross. The citation references courage under fire and innovative tactics. It does not mention the inverted dive, not officially. But pilots talk. Word spreads through squadrons across the Pacific. Physics boy pulled something impossible over Rabaul, took on 8 zeros alone, and walked away. The maneuver is analyzed, debated, studied. Some dismiss it as desperation. Others see the logic. A few try variations in training. Results are mixed. One pilot blacks out and crashes. Another tears his wings off. The maneuver works only under precise conditions. Specific airspeed, specific altitude, specific aircraft. Bong's P-38 is stripped for parts and scrapped. Metallurgical analysis reveals stress damage beyond repair. The airframe survived 1 inverted dive. It would not have survived 2. Flight instructors begin incorporating energy management principles into advanced training. Not the inverted dive itself, but the thinking behind it. Understanding structural limits, exploiting enemy weaknesses, using physics as a weapon. The curriculum evolves quietly. No official doctrine changes, no manual rewrites, just small adjustments in how pilots are taught to think. Bong continues flying combat missions. He refines his tactics, becomes methodical and lethal. By war's end, he is credited with 40 confirmed kills, America's top ace. He never performs the inverted dive again. The math only worked once. After the war, Bong returns to Wisconsin. He test flies jets for Lockheed. On August 6, 1945, the same day the Enola Gay drops the atomic bomb on Hiroshima, Bong dies in a P-80 Shooting Star crash. Fuel pump failure on takeoff. He does not eject. The aircraft impacts and burns. He is 24 years old. His funeral draws thousands. The Medal of Honor is presented posthumously. Obituaries mention his kill record. They do not mention Rabaul. But in flight schools, decades later, instructors still teach the principle that survival is not just about firepower or speed, it is about understanding your aircraft better than the enemy understands his. That sometimes the smartest move is the one no one expects. Physics boy proved it. Once was enough.